Welcome everybody to Enlightened Masculinity podcast. I'm Yogi Chris, PhD, founder of Ninth Limb Yoga, host of this podcast, and captain of IMC Nation, streaming to you from IMC Base 1, where I live with the founder of IMC Nation, Arasha Pardeep Bazar. And lately on this series, because this is a red pill podcast about masculinity, spirituality, and we've had so many interviews. This is episode like 350 or something. And we've actually had my guest on the show before. I was actually looking at the previous episodes a long time ago. It was with Lone Wolf. I don't know if Lone Wolf. Oh, Lone Wolf's right there. So Lone Wolf was on. He was on at the same episode with Chris Lopez, and that's my guest today. And one of the things that I like about having Chris, hold on, let me close this one. One of the things I like about having Chris on the podcast and as a representative for IMC is, on paper, he's a regular guy. He's pretty, he's an extraordinary regular guy, but he's a regular guy. He's husband, father, business owner in the financial industry, and, clean cut, good looking, all-American fucking Los Angeles guy, goes to the gym, pays his taxes. He's a regular fucking guy. And there's a lot of guys that have objections to studying AZD and IMC because they have the same conditions that Chris Lopez has, but they don't want to get in it because they don't want to handle their life. And so seeing Chris through the last at least 2 years or so, I've known him a little bit longer, but the evolution has been really strong in the last 2 years, and that's just really rewarding. It's just a success story. And we keep going. Like, there's not a ceiling on this, but that's why I like having him on. He's a great testament to what we're doing. I'm sure he has a lot to say to contribute about like his experience from his perspective. We have a bunch of IMC guys on live Zoom. Obviously, this recording gets posted on a bunch of platforms. A lot of people watch it there. So you can all go to imcbase1.com to see all the happenings with AZD, the trainings, the YouTube channel. This is on IMC TV, which features tons of shows. Chris is one of the show hosts on that. There's like 14 or 15 different shows right now. Guys that are top IMC guys streaming to it and expressing this philosophy through their experience, their language, with their context in life. Like if they're a perfume expert and cologne expert versus if they're an insurance salesman versus if they are, some kind of DJ or whatever. Like everybody has. I'm a yogi, so we all have our own perspectives, and you'll see how it translates in so many different ways, so many different men's lives. And so that's really exciting. You could also go to Stoic Temple YouTube. That's my YouTube for IMC Base 1, which is the first Stoic Temple of its kind. And that's probably enough pitching of different things. That's how you find everybody. The links for Chris's Instagram will be in the description for this. A lot of those links will be in the description. Shout out to staff member Jeremiah, Officer Jeremiah, and staff member Tony Kosmiski, who run the podcast and get the word out, organize all the hosts and everything. So that's great. Having a team, having a tribe that the energy recycles and we grow together. And that's kind of feminine language, but you know what I mean. It's like expansion, world takeover. All right. So without further wait, here's Chris Lopez, my guest from Los Angeles. What's going on with you, brother? Just checking in before we get deep into it. How's your day going? How's life going? What's on with you?
Yeah. Hey, brother. First and foremost, I appreciate the opportunity to be here. I have a lot of respect for you. You're one of the most intelligent men that I've ever met. And you've done a lot. You've done a lot to aid me and help me in this process with my involvement in IMC and my growth. So, and I always tell you that, and I like to say that publicly too, because I give credit where credit is due. So, but my day's good, man. My day's been good. Done a little bit of work and a little bit of learning, a little bit of everything that I normally do. And here we are today, man. So I'm excited to be here.
Now, one of the first things that I want to ask you, and you probably, I haven't had the time, there's so much, I haven't had the time to listen to everybody's shows on IMC TV, so maybe this is something you said before, but for my audience, I'm interested in your take. You're a very busy guy, you got a lot going for you, a lot of responsibilities, and the demands of studying IMC is tremendous. It's commitment every day, oftentimes 2 lectures a day at least, maybe some traveling involved once a month. And, to a man with lots of commitments and responsibilities, I'm sure that's been a challenge to organize your life around that and still succeed in the ways that you need. There's going to be changes in your lifestyle, but, you can't just drop everything and go from hero to zero. So what has it been like for you? How have you managed to, or has it been an obstacle for you to organize your life around, understanding this art and science?
In the beginning, I felt like it was, but then it's 100%. It's just my perspective on it, and I hope that this answer helps a lot of people, because think of it like this, right? There's people that their lifestyle, a part of their lifestyle is working out. It's not like something that they have to do. Oh, I forgot to do it. That's just how I live, right? And so for me, when in the beginning, when it came to all my responsibilities and then my involvement in IMC and studying and being on the lectures and all that other stuff, in the beginning, it was like, okay, how do I make time for this? And then as time passed, I realized that was the wrong question, because I never said, how do I make time for working out? I never said, how do I make time to be a father? How do I make time to be a husband? How do I make time to do this, right? And so the only reason why I think people look at it that way is, how do I make time? Because you think that this is like extracurricular. And I was guilty of that. At some point I thought that. And by the way, it shows in your lack of your lack of growth. So when I changed that perspective and I saw this as, this is not extracurricular, this is something that I know I need to do. Like, I know I need to work out. Then it just became a part of my everyday living. And then when I changed that perspective, that's when I really started seeing a lot of internal growth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I was just talking about this, I think, on Monday's open class, and people they're living those two lives, and they have to switch gears, and they I think they're maybe lacking results because they think that they're switching gears to learn IMC stuff, to study with AZD. Like, they're still holding on to that other life, and they haven't really let it bleed into all areas of their life, where it just kind of takes you over, almost like Venom hybrid kind of thing. Now, this is really interesting. I didn't realize until after I asked this question, and then you answered it. I was like, this is exactly what I read today in Seneca, Stoicism, Letters from a Stoic. Okay, I'm just going to read 2, maybe 3 sentences. He took a long time to answer his student in a reply letter. So he says, "My tardiness in answering your letter was not due to press of business. Do not listen to that sort of excuse. I am at liberty, and so is anyone else who wishes to be at liberty. No man is at the mercy of affairs. He gets entangled in them of his own accord, and then flatters himself that being busy is a proof of happiness." So yeah, that's that objection. I'm too busy. I'm working on my business. I'm focusing on something else, so my body, physical or whatever, before I start. Oh man, you sound real important to yourself, but anyway, I feel like I cleared out that subject. So, man, shit. IMC, I mean, there's probably a lot of people that are watching that this may even be their first episode. Like, what would you say to the newcomer, to someone that, like, how would you explain, or not explain, that maybe that sounds like too much investment, but like, if someone seemed like they were sincerely interested in the answer, but really had no idea, like, what is this IMC stuff that you dedicate so much time? Maybe they don't even know all of the other commitments, but like, what is that stuff? What are you doing? What do you do there? What would you say to them? Let's say it's a adult male, any condition, but adult male.
Yeah, my answer would be, it's a tribe of men that are all dedicated, committed to personal development, personal growth, but not in the sense that you think it is. Not in the traditional sense like you see in all these other groups and on Instagram and Facebook and all this other bullshit. Because once you truly start to break down the walls of the facade, you'll start to see that a lot of those people, they're not leading self-development groups. They're leading a whole bunch of groups, leading people to manipulate them, earn money, all kinds of other shit, and people are actually not getting better. And I think that people a lot of times hear like self-improvement or self-development, and they associate it with, I'm going to make a bunch of money or something like that. That's the intention for why they're doing it. And what I would say in regards to what we do, I would say it's inverted. I would say this is a group dedicated to self-development and growth and evolution, to truly become whole as a man, to develop, to be okay with nothing. And now, as I'm learning, because I am in business, that when you start to really like sincerely start growing like that, money and success and women and whatever you really want, you start to naturally just attract it rather than you out there actively learning something so you can go chase it. Now, that's kind of like a lengthy answer, but hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. What do you, this is very interesting. It's something else. I mean, so much Stoicism is coming out. It's something that's Seneca. I read it like a day or 2 or 3 ago. And what was it? Yeah, I was just writing this thing down. It was something related to what you were just saying, becoming whole as a man, not in the way you think about the facade, breaking down the facade. They're not really leading. Man, I don't remember what I was going to say, but it's straight Stoicism. So what is that experience of being whole as a man? Because you would sometimes, I mean, do you think that men are, maybe they fall into multiple categories. Maybe some men are aware that they're not whole as a man, and maybe other men aren't, but they're not. From our perspective, they're not. So how would a man, is it just a feeling? How does a man know that they're whole as a man or not?
I would say it's a state of being. From just the way I can observe it and interpret it and experience what I'm experiencing now, I believe it's a state of being. And what I mean by that is, I spent a lot of time in my life chasing feelings, like chasing emotions. Like, here's what I mean by that. When I had no car, I had the idea that if I got a really dope car, I'd feel better about myself. Right? Before that, when I had no money, I used to have the idea that if I started making a lot of money, I would feel more confident, more secure, more wanted or recognized, praised, blah, 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 right? When I was in the mode of chasing women, to try to sleep with as much women as I possibly could, it was out of a feeling that I lacked, which is if I slept with more women, I'd feel like an alpha. I'd feel like the man. So I spent a lot of time chasing emotions without even recognizing it. And now I'm speaking to you as of now. And truthfully, I really feel like just within the last 60 days, I've had like a real big internal shift, and I think that a lot of you guys have probably been able to see it. And so, and I can't say I'm 100% because I know I'm not, but I'm okay with that because I know it's a process and an evolution. And like
100% whole, you mean?
No, I mean like I'm 100% like, I guess in the word perfect of like, I don't have these thoughts or don't have these feelings or don't have these insecurities or these ideas that I have to go chase or like I still deal with all that, but now I'm aware of it. And because of what I've been taught, what I've been learning, and truly what I have been changing the way I feel okay. Like I feel satisfied. I feel at peace without having to chase any of that. And that to me has been the biggest difference. Because before I had this feeling, it was I had to go have sex to feel better, or I had to go get that car to go feel better, or blah, 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 blah. So I don't hope that does that answer your question.
Yeah, I mean, to be at peace and not chasing emotions. If you're chasing emotions, then or chasing the things outside of you that create emotions in you, then you're not whole, man. Then you're in pieces. And I really like that word peace. It's something that I said to my girl the other day. I said something, and I want something for you. I forget what it was. And she was like, really? And I was like, no, that's bullshit. Actually, I don't want anything for I forget what I was saying, but like what I want, it was something about what I want for myself. And then I realized that I don't want anything for myself. And then I had said something about what I want for you. And I was like, what I just want for you is peace. Just like be at peace. Like, I don't even want happiness for you. Just be at peace. And like, I want that peace. And the thing that I read the other day that I remembered, because you were saying like how to need less. And Seneca says, and like I said in my video this morning in the Telegram group, a lot of these Stoics, the ancient Stoics, they're like saying the same thing the other guy's saying, a little bit different wording. I don't know if they're just copying each other or if they just all came to the same conclusions or whatever. But he says wealth is not accumulating more or having more. Wealth is needing less. And that's basically what you said. And that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's a Stoic podcast right now.
Yeah, I'm getting it. I'm really getting it now, man. And it's like every day I can say like it's another, I'm using the words AZD has given. It's like another revelation for me. because like I wake up and I'm like going through my day or whatever, and then I have like an understanding and I go, oh, I get it. And it's a difference between thinking or believing. It's just like a knowingness, and it's exciting. It is exciting because it's like, I've never felt like this before. And I'm starting to feel better and better each and every single day. I'm kind of just writing.
Felt like at peace, or felt like what?
Yeah, peace is one. Yeah. I mean, for a long time, I never felt at peace, if I'm being honest
Sure.
with you. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Feeling more at peace, feeling more like, and it's just like, well, when you learn something and you have like an understanding of a new lesson in your life, and it's like, how you feel about it. For me, it's exciting. It's exciting.
Yeah.
Like,
They call that, they have a thing in Buddhism. It's called, well, man, the phrase slips my mind, but like in martial arts, they call it the white belt mentality.
Hmm.
So every day is new. Like, I don't know anything. I'm here to learn. And then, and the realization and the growth and the fun of learning, feeling like, I just leveled up. Like, I know because I'm better than I was just a moment ago before I had this realization.
Yep.
And so therefore I'm better than every man that hasn't had this realization.
Yeah. Yeah. That's funny. Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. And one of these phrases that's recently been thrown around that I really like is unemotional love. To love unemotionally. Like that's what a man does. He loves unemotionally.
Mm-hmm.
And not looking for that emotional love. I don't know why, but what you said reminded me how much I like that phrasing. So we have a bunch of IMC audience. I mean, has anybody ever wanted the opportunity to ask Chris Lopez a question? He's on right now. What's up? What's up with it? We got him on. We took an hour of his time. We still got half an hour left on the show. I was just at the gym that they had a really good deal. This is like $20 a month or something. I have a little infrared booth that you stand in, and it like zaps you with like these infrared lights. And she said if you do it like five or more times a week, it does something for your muscles regenerating. But if you just do it like once every week or two, it's really good for your skin. And I got all these like testosterone acne or whatever. So I mean, it's doing really well because I scrubbed the shit out of it in the morning, and my girl gave me some things for my face, and so it's pretty good. But I want to try the infrared thing. So
I never heard of it.
Yeah.
For you, if that's okay.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, I've been around you for some time, and I like to observe people, and I get to see like how really intelligent you're, like extremely intelligent. I'm not just saying that to like stroke your ego. I think everybody here knows that.
Oh yeah.
Like to the point where you're like hyper intelligent. That's even a word.
I think I'm just a smart ass.
I can see that for sure. Yeah, 100%. And but here's my point. You being like, a lot of people like that, like don't feel like they need to learn what we're learning here. And I mean, you obviously have become like the top student here, and AZD's right-hand man, and you've obviously really taken this to a whole other level by helping and aiding. What made you really want to like dedicate your life to learning this? I mean, you PhD, went to college, and people look at you like you're a really smart guy, and then you come into this world. Because like I only asked that question because you just said like, oh, me, like on paper, I'm like your typical normal guy, and this would be like kind of taboo, right? It seemed like for you kind of be the same thing. So like what made you want to get involved and study and dedicate your life to studying IMC?
Well, first I'll say that and I don't know how much of this would make it to that paper. Yeah, PhD, master's and bachelor's degree, but I was also a drug addict and a drug dealer for 4 or 5 years, and I sold over $1 million. And I was also growing my own marijuana for many years. I was also a yoga teacher, a male yoga teacher at a young age, and did that as a travel yoga job, which only a dozen or less people in the country do that, and all of them are senior teachers. I did like that abnormal thing. I created this thing. I became like the bad boy of yoga on my YouTube channel. Not so much because of any tattoos or whatever. There are guys that are heavily tattooed, but they talk real feminine and like elongate their vowels and things. And so I was just really more aggressive and militant. But definitely with the PhD, Caucasian, military, patriot upbringing, like I get that. Yeah, on paper, kind of a regular guy. And what you had said reminded me of something. from Seneca. And he says, I wrote this, I underlined this like yesterday. Where is this? Yes. Abandon gold and silver and whatever else is a burden upon your richly furnished homes. Liberty cannot be gained for nothing. If you set a high value on liberty, you must set a low value on everything else. So I think I wanted that liberty. And so the PhD, the entrepreneurship, the family reputation among quote friends, the comfortable lifestyle, it all got valued much lower when I saw liberty, when I saw freedom of expression, and especially with women, because that's where men are. Now we know on the other side of the red pill that is clearly where men are most suppressed. They just don't have that. They may have freedom of expression on the football field, but they don't have freedom of expression to their girlfriend or their wife. And I didn't want to be like, if I can go back to eight or so years ago, I felt like a lone wolf, that I had a lot in me that, you know, was very dangerous, very tough. But I was just one man, and I was lost and confused in the matrix of all the liberal ideas and education. And, you know, day by day, month by month, I was becoming softer and weaker, even though I still had that potential in me. As became obvious when the Beast process came out, and within 6 or 7 weeks, I was fucking Hercules, because I just went at it. And I was still vegan, except eggs. I was eating eggs, but I just went at it and, you know, made it my religion. Like I had wrestling. You know, wrestling was 4 to 6 hours a day, every day. Not just wrestling. There's weightlifting and running and all kinds of extra drilling on your own and all kinds of stuff. Plus all the diet, extreme diet. So it's a 24/7 thing. And so back when I discovered AZD and rediscovered, I discovered it, studied some other stuff, and then came back and then really was like, oh, this, wow, the depth, the layers. It appealed to my intelligence. It appealed to my patriotism, because my patriotism is very similar, I think, to a guru disciple lineage kind of. That's like a patriotism of that religion, where it's like I came from so and so, who came from so and so, who came from so and so. My family heritage is I came from Melvin, who came from Don, who came from Bern Pierre, who came all the way back to the guy who fought in the Revolutionary War. That's my ancestor de Vilbus. And so when I would hear AZD talk about, you know, his lineage and give so much credit to his teachers, that appealed to I think a patriotism in me, that it was like there's honor there. It was the honor. It appealed to my honor, sense of honor, even though I had done so many fucked up things that you would think, well, you know, but I was, like I said, lost and confused. And I pulled myself out of that with yoga. That's why I got so good at yoga, transmuted all of that confusion, not all of it, but I used the darkness in me to just get good at this skill and save myself from, you know, give myself something to focus on, so I wasn't distracted by, you know, fucking emotions and shit. And so, but I feel like, you know, sometimes, like I'll go to jujitsu, and I was a great wrestler, but jujitsu is a different beast. There's some translatable skills, hip pressure, and just some mat awareness, body awareness, like are you on your back and side, like I can roll around really well. But jujitsu is submissions, and doesn't even exist in wrestling. So you get your arms locked, or you expose your neck, and it's like I got caught in all kinds of positions in the beginning that I was just like not familiar with. And so I'm learning and I'm getting better at it. And so that's kind of what I felt like when I found AZD, where it was like, I'm good as a man. Like I had a strong father. I had, you know, great opportunities, very physical, healthy. I could fight, like intelligent. I got great potential. Obviously my ambition showed when I started yoga entrepreneurship and IMC and stuff, which I had before that. Those aren't my first endeavors. Even the drug dealing, I mean, that was ambitious. I was clean. I got the message out. Like, what I do for IMC, it's actually pretty similar. I just didn't keep spreadsheets and accounting and everything. But it's very similar. So I went to jujitsu, and even though I was skilled as a man, a white belt would tap me. Even though some brown belts and black belts I rolled with, and we rolled. I had mat awareness, like I can go with them, but I just don't have submission. So I would get caught by white belts and blue belts and dumb shit. And I still do. Like, I'm learning. But so that's what it was like when I met AZD, where it's like I got all this potential, but I don't know the techniques of life. And when I would start to study him, just in the beginning, from the very beginning, it felt like, you know, when you get a crowbar in something and you have like leverage, and it's like you can't even get your fingernails. There's just a little crack there. You can't even get in there and pull it, but just a crowbar and you get it in there. And man, now I have so much leverage to open this thing. And I felt like as I studied AZD stuff, I was finally getting some leverage in life. Not like financial leverage or whatever, but like mentally, I could leverage a situation because I understood what was being said or what was being meant or what I could say or do. You know, just some actions to take that I you know, believed, understood, and eventually like really began to know, because I would do it and then cause and effect, and I would know it was no longer belief and just an understanding. I knew that this was the smarter chess move in this situation, the smarter movement, whether it's communication or to sit back and listen or whatever it is. Like this, the understandings made me feel like a new guy at jiu-jitsu that finally learned how to block his face, or finally learned how to not get his arm extended, just stay in tight, and you last longer. And the guy may get frustrated and you may get an opening to do something just because they don't know how to handle you. You learned how to do one thing, or like you go for the wrist control. Instead of grabbing the guy's wrist, why don't you just grab his fingers? If you grab his wrist, he's going to roll it out. But if you grab his fingers, he can't get it out and he can't grab you. But if you grab his wrist, he can grab you too. So it's like little things and learning how to so I felt like, and man, that was empowering. And it didn't take all of my intelligence to realize that this shit works and let's see where it goes. And then I just kept going. And then it was only about 6 or 8 months. And I was like, man, I'm spending all this, you know, you get a concept of value. And I was over $100,000 in debt for school. And it was like, so I'm going to pay some thousands of dollars for this shit. And this shit is like really going to help me in something that all of that schooling, take it to the rest of my life, isn't going to be able to address this issue. So I'll invest some thousands of dollars. And then I saw more. And then I just kept seeing more. And it was like, if you want liberty, everything else has got to be valued less. So I'm looking at what are the alternatives here. You know, a couple of times, maybe 3, maybe 4 times in the last 8 years, I've thought, what would be my plan B? I never thought to go down that road, but I would think like, what would be my plan B if this didn't work out with IMC? I haven't always been living with AZD. I haven't always been invested in the business. So, you know, and honestly, those thoughts have probably been more when I was invested in the business. Whereas before it was like, it probably would have been easier to drop out before I got invested in the business and then be able to come back or whatever. So when I've exercised my imagination on what are the plan Bs here, or Cs or Ds, what else is there going on just for me in life? What could I do here? And then other thoughts like, what is that guy doing? And how is he in life? That rich guy or that powerful man or that pickup artist guy who supposedly gets lots of money. And I'm just like, man, they're so miserable. I don't want what they have. It looks a little bit appealing because it's like fresh, it's new, it's the grass on the other side. But I would get bored with it so fast. I wouldn't want it. Like I get, you know, I lose perspective a little bit being in an echo chamber here. And I'm always comparing myself to AZD and the guys I live with. But just go out and interact with the normies of the world just a little bit. And it's like, man, this is so good. I got it so good here. And so that's, you know, when I saw that and I keep seeing it and it's like, man, there's just, what could the world really entice me with? Yeah. Like you said, when you were explaining to the new guy, like what IMC is, and it's like, it's a self-help movement, but not like what you know. It's not what you think it is. And it's like the little me, the ego in me, would want everybody who knows me to know how great my life is and why their life sucks compared to mine. And realizing more and more that I do not need their acknowledgement But I know that the liberty I experience is worth 100 of their lifetimes combined. Like all of their experience put together is what, like he says, it's like the gold and silver that's weighing down their house. You know, it's whatever it is, even if it's not just money, but just all the chains, they're chaining themselves. So when I saw that I had leverage over my position in this social matrix, this social hierarchy that is like a web of interactions and relationships, and I had some leverage to maneuver myself and then I had such a high value on that because of my life, of just the experience. I mean, my career, I didn't have a lot of friends, had a lot of rejection in high school and whatever, didn't really get any friends or relationships until I got good at athletics, and they were just sports friends, and none of them panned out after sports was done. So it's like, I don't know, looking back how good of friends that really was. It was just a better reference of what it was before that. You know, my drug friends, my musician friends, my PhD friends, like, it was just, it was worth everything. Everything else, it's, you know, it just wasn't. Why? I wonder. I don't know why. The first thing that comes to mind is my dad. And my dad has gotten softer over the years, as any man, or a lot of men do. I don't know that any man, but, you know, he's old man now, lots of injuries, you know, and whatever happens, you know, the culture, the water, the food, everything that happened, the chemistry and his hormones and all that, and marriage and what happens with living with your mom and all that stuff. But when I was younger, he was still military, Army Ranger. And it was, I don't know that he ever pushed into me like win, 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 that kind of thing. But I never wanted to lose. Man. And I have this sense of entitlement that I think I should win. And if I don't, it's because of me why I didn't win. It's in my control. And so when I saw the leverage, I saw that I could maneuver my position, I felt, oh, this is so valuable to me. And then I had to face the decision where it's like, am I going to go for it or not? Am I going to halfway go for it? I mean, I have a history of just going all in with these activities throughout my life. So I just naturally went all in and haven't looked back.
Yeah, I can relate to you in a lot of those points, man. For sure.
I'd like to hear that.
Yeah, I mean, in the sense of like like you're competitive. You know, I'm very competitive. I can understand what you're saying. Like, I want to win. I've always had the same idea. Like, there's no way I can lose. Like, I'm not here to lose on this planet. Like, on everything that I do, and then like in anything that I've ever partook in, you know, I've more than not. I mean, I've kind of just gone all in. You know, that's usually how I've done things. When I got into the business that I'm in, when I played sports, when even I was doing bad shit, you know, it was like, we're all in, you know? And so I could relate to that. I could relate to, as you said about the sense of entitlement, you know, that actually sparked an idea in me that I can see in the last probably 10 years, for sure 10 years, I can see now that I've gone through a lot of different phases, you know, like 10 years ago to probably 10 to like 7 years ago, I was very, like, the way that I was got me very far. It did, you know, I was competitive, I was entitled, I had this idea that like, I am this shit, I'm gonna fucking win in anything that I do. I cared less. I would never say that I didn't care about people's opinions, but I cared less. And then I saw that I went through this phase, like total 180, like total 180, where I started to like experience challenges and lose in life, and I started losing things. And then like it humbled me, but humbled me to the point where not like I learned from it. It humbled me to the point where I became like a little beta bitch about it. And I just started becoming very meek and like very like gun shy. Like that's what comes to like I was afraid of going after shit again, you know. And I saw that I didn't realize it in the moment, but I saw it after that my belief in myself and my confidence and all that, it just started diminishing. I was like second guessing everything that I was doing, and then my involvement in getting involved in IMC.
Do you think that had anything to do with women?
Yeah, for sure. I didn't realize it now. I didn't realize it then. I realize it now, for sure. Yeah, I had a lot to do with women. I grew up in my home that I grew up in, it was mainly my mom and my sisters. So I was around nothing but females. And then, I got married and I wasn't involved in IMC at that time.
Yeah.
And I didn't recognize it then. I recognize it now. Yeah. That really took me on a whole other path. Not even recognizing or realizing. And, I started becoming like very open to the opinions and the guidance and teachings of like my mother, and my sisters, and taking their advice and opinions. And I was like, I didn't see that. I didn't recognize it at that time. I didn't. And at this time, I was still in communication with you. You and I were in communication, but I wasn't really plugged into IMC at all. And then you and I really talked. Then I got involved. And then by plugging into IMC and listening to AZD lecture after lecture, I started like waking up again. Like I started seeing myself wake up, and I started seeing like, the fuck have I done to my life? Like that was really like, there was a time where I was like, what the fuck did I become? And it's like, it was a challenge because now I had to go undo a lot of things. But here's why I say it was a challenge, because I realize now it wasn't a challenge, but I made it a challenge. And let me tell you why I say that. Because I was trying to undo things without trying to destroy it. Which means I was trying to undo it but I didn't want to lose it. Meaning I didn't want to lose my relationship with my girl. I didn't want to lose my relationship or damage my relationship with my mother because she disapproves of what I'm doing. But I'm trying to undo it. And then I realized at some point, it's impossible. If you're not willing to stand by what you truly believe in, and you're not willing to lose it all, you're not willing to lose that relationship, or even to lose the relationship with your mother because I don't want nothing to do with you, and I can't see my mom ever really being like that, but it was still a fear. And then I realized, like, it wasn't until I got to the point, it was like, kind of like a big sigh, like, all right, fuck it. Let's just go down this path. And if I lose it, I fucking lose it. But I'm just tired of feeling like this. Like I'm living in a hell. I'm censoring myself. I'm not living as I once did, where I just didn't give a fuck and living for me. And now I'm living for a bunch of other people, and you remember when I first got involved in IMC the second time around, it's like, I had a lot of I had more responsibility. I was taking on everybody's shit. My mother's, my sisters, my dad had just died at that time. And then, everybody was coming to me and just dumping and dumping and dumping. And I had this like obligation. I felt this obligation, like I have to be there for these people. And then I realized it was just like draining. It's draining as fuck. Until I got to the point, I was like, I'm stopped, like enough. Like I'm not here for that. I'm here to I need to get myself right. And since then, it's like, I can feel my power coming back for sure. Like day by day, I feel it. Mm-hmm. So that's a lot, but yeah, that's how I feel. That's kind of what I've seen my progression.
Man, I wish I wrote these questions down because something really sparked while you were saying that. And the willingness to lose everything, and just curious, because I remember in the beginning, and it was much closer to my drug days when I first came into IMC. I wasn't on drugs, but probably there was some detoxing of things still happening. It was years out, but I remember the first times I would go out with AZD, it felt like a mushroom trip to me. Things got really round, and I would have this euphoria come over me, and it was like, whoa, dude. And, related to that, with heavy psychedelics, there was a lot of kind of the perception of a death of my ego death, where it was like, I would lose myself. I could see my personality almost floating away from me. And it was like, I would have amnesia in the trip that I didn't know who I was. I knew I was here. I wasn't like going bonkers. I wasn't shitting myself. Like I had coordination. I could play music and everything. But if you ask me some details of my life, I might not be able to answer. I had forgotten myself. and that's drug induced and whatever, but it's amazing to have that experience without drugs. And but having that reference from drugs and then being around AZD and seeing how much I needed to let go of my ego, that I was so solid in my ego, it was like crystallized. It was like lactic acid crystallized in your muscles, and it makes you sore. My whole personality was sore because my ego was all acidic and crystallized. And one of the things that's really helped me loosen and let go deeply is transcendental meditation. And you'd learned TM maybe like 5 or 6 months ago. And, recently in the last 30 to 60 days, you're saying you've you've experienced like such drastic changes. And I'm wondering, because, what you're describing and being willing to lose everything, and that, what's coming to my mind when you're saying that is like, man, you're going to lose it all anyway. At the end, you're going to lose it all. If not before the end, you're going to lose it all in pieces or all at once or whatever. Like, let it go. What then? What's important then? Like I was asking the girl at the gym, like, just like, I forget how the questioning went, but it was like, how long you been working here? Is that what you really want to do? What do you really want to do? Oh, she wants to be like project manager for a construction company. I was like, that's what you want to do? She's like, well, my younger brothers can be electricians. I want to manage them. And it's like, why? Well, because my dad, this and that. It was like, so, and make good money. And they retired at 45. And it's like, okay, so what are you going to do at 45 then? And it's like, well, I want to be a fishing guide. What? That has nothing to do with you working in a gym or going to school for project management or any of that shit. But that's the good stuff. That's when you start living. That's what you want. You want to be a fishing guide. I got it. So it's like, then what? After you lose all this stuff, if you lost it before you died, then what would you do? Would you build it back? Would you start over? Would you do it right? Would you do something different? What would you do? There's your life. That's where it begins, in my opinion. And, so I'm curious from your take. It seems like letting go of a lot of these mental attachments to things that weren't allowing you to be mobile in your life. How much did TM play a role in that? Do you see its role in that? Or does anything else I'm saying about ego death, or, does that stimulate any thoughts for you?
I'm sure TM did play a role. I can't sit here and confidently say like that was it. But doing TM really helped me like decompress and just like really start releasing a lot of stress. Like when I started coming around, you guys would always say like, dude, you're so tense. And I never saw that in myself. Like,
do you feel less tense now?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I feel much less stressed out, much less tense. TM has really helped me in that regard for sure. Mm-hmm. And but as far as like killing off my ego, I mean, honestly, man, it was something happened the night. I remember the exact night. It was during Animus, and AZD called on me, and he called on somebody else.
Yeah, I remember that.
And that's really like how I learned. Like anybody who's ever taught me anything in life, where I've respected them as a teacher, and I'm sitting here to listen, I have always responded best when somebody like calls me on my shit. If I really respect them, And when he called me out on it, because I teach for a living, I teach, agents and sales agents, and I see it in them. I can see it so clearly when someone's a fucking know-it-all, and it irks me, bro. It irritates the fuck out of me. And
did you feel like you were a know-it-all?
I never felt like a know-it-all. I never felt like it. However, if I'm being very honest, I always felt like I was putting up a front because I wanted people to look at me in the way that I wanted them to look at me. Like I had my shit together. Like, I have no problem with women, blah, 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 all this other shit, And so that's really how I knew, like, I'm putting on a front. And AZD's always been good enough to like see it. And I'm sure many other people as well. And then there's a lot of people that are blind to it. They just kind of take it, So when he called up at night, like that was a moment. Honestly, that was like a turning point for me. Because in that moment, I was like, oh, fuck, like 40 some people are watching. He's watching, and he's going to be able to sniff out my bullshit. And I don't want to go down like that because there's just, I just don't want to go down like that. So in that moment when I just like surrendered and I was like, you're right. He asked the question and I said, yeah, you're right. Like 100%. And then it was a trip because the person that spoke right after me was the exact opposite. And when when I saw the polar opposite, I saw like, oh, that was me. Like I saw it in that moment. I said, that was me. And that was like the beginning of something totally different. And I started just really just questioning myself, like, you're trapped behind this identity, like you really are. That's me talking to me. You're trapped behind this car. You have this nice car and you want people to acknowledge it and like it and all this other shit because you feel like, it gives you status. People know that you make X amount of money. So you feel like it gives you status. People like, everything he started saying was just so real. Me going out and pursuing and getting women, like I'm going to collect another girlfriend and then another girlfriend. Then I would come to my wife and be like, hey, look, I got this other girl. It was all because even I wanted her recognition. And I was totally unaware of all this. I was just totally operating, letting my ego just run me. And then but it's like you start carrying all these bricks in your fucking sack. And it becomes very, very, very hard to keep carrying this shit. And I was just like, it's more stress. And I'm already tense. So now I'm even more tense because now I'm trying to keep up a facade. Like, please look at me, I'm the man.
Yeah.
And it was like, you know what? I'm just dropping this fucking sack. I don't want to carry this shit no more. You're gonna see me however the fuck you're gonna see me anyways. But
Nice.
what matters most is I wanna feel peace internally.
Yeah.
And that was like the beginning change. So yeah, TM like helped for sure because I can see it and I realize things during TM. But I would say that night for me, honestly, like changed a lot.
For sure. I saw, even as you were saying that, I saw examples of myself. And really one thing that came to mind was Tony K. So at some point early in the Lion's Den process, Tony K got called out along with Akash and Pete Kirkwood. And so we saw 3 different responses to the same thing. And Tony K's still around and those other guys aren't around. And that's, the result of those responses. Yeah, that's great. It is just a moment away to be able to, it's just a quantum moment away to let it go, or it could be a lifetime and you never let it go, like that front. And we're getting more and more deep into that because different contexts may bring up that egoic facade, like you were saying. You speak in front of 10 people and it's like a certain personality comes out. You speak in front of 10,000 people, it might be a different personality. You speak in front of, your daughter's teammates and it may be one personality. You speak in front of 5 hot babes at the restaurant and it's like, it might be a different personality that's like, comes out. And, the private moments and all the exercises that we do here, TM, seeing the mind. That's a really exciting evolution because it's contenting. It brings peace to be able to live fluidly and be your natural expression and not have to think about it and rethink about it and adjust and calibrate and make sure that it's just right. That's great. I don't even know if any more needs to be said on that. I just talked myself into Zen right there. Does anybody on the audience have any questions for my guest?
Yes, since my microphone's off.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Chris Lopez, what's one of the biggest improvements you've noticed in yourself since you joined IMC Nation and applied the AZD process?
I would say exactly what we just talked about.
Yeah.
When I came in, I was extremely tense, stressed, carried a lot, man, and I've always carried a lot throughout my life. I didn't have the worst upbringing, but wasn't necessarily helpful to watch, my mother and stepfather go through all their shit, and he was an alcoholic and addicted to drugs. And so I unknowingly carried a lot through my life. I just didn't know it, and the way that I dealt with it, because I didn't really have like a great father figure, but something in me always told me, like, this is not, you see these men, this is not the way to act. I always knew that. And so the way that I stored everything up was, the way I dealt with it, I just didn't really deal with it. I just stored it up and just kept pushing. And, I always told myself, like, having emotions makes you a bitch, And I get it. Like you mentioned to be emotional. I get it. So I'm not here to say like men should be emotional. However, like I never did anything with those emotions. So as life just continued to progress, I just started storing up a whole bunch of shit in me. And unknowingly, I'm all tense and stressed out all the time. And I come around IMC brothers and everybody's like, dude, you're tense as fuck. Like, what's wrong with you? And I'm like, I'm chill. And they're like, you're far from chill, bro. Like you're fucked up. And so like my being here, me being here has really helped me through the lessons, the teachings, the understandings, the realizations, the revelations I've been having. Just, it's okay to just drop the shit. I don't sit here and cry. Like I just don't. You know, the last time I cried was when I did my private moment, and that even that was hard for me to do. But it's just really helped me like drop my shit and learn how to deal with the world. Like I get what AZD says when he's like, you know, it's not like you're trying to become spiritual and bliss out and then you go in the woods and you go away from the world. Like I get that because I'm in the world and I'm dealing with other people, but I see that my interactions with them have changed drastically because of me cleaning out inside. Like me, like I feel way more free. Way more free. There's so much more freedom, so much more range, so much more. Like I go into the gym or I go into a store, I go into my office or I'm dealing with anybody. Like I never saw that I was always trying to have an effect on people. I want them to like me. I want them to recognize me, approve of me, blah, 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 all this other shit. And though it's changed a lot because I just see myself not wanting that or not needing that. I no longer desire that. And so because I've dropped that desire and I'm like totally different, my interactions with people have become more organic, you know, more real. Like I'm not constantly in my head. And I get when he said, when you go in your head, you become unconscious.
Man, and when you use that word organic, and I'm thinking the difference between like a paper mache tree or paper mache plant, a fake plant versus a real plant. And that's like people are living in a paper mache life. They're living a fake life versus this organic living. It's good. It may not be the prettiest thing. It may get all gnarled and curly or whatever, but it's alive and it works because that's what it takes to be alive. It's got to do its job.
Yeah, man. So yeah, that's my. I don't even think TK's on, but that's my.
Yeah, he just left.
Yeah, that's what's improved. I've noticed the biggest improvement in me.
Yes, sir. Right on. Okay. I see some other guys on. We'll go once, twice. Anybody got something you'd like to ask my guest while I have him here? Okay. The order of operations in IMC Nation. You're here if you're catching this podcast or if you're on the stream or whatever, is join Midday Gospel or whatever the morning class becomes. I mean, that's the name now. It was Love Spell, then Lion's Den, Brother to the Beast, Dragon's Lair, and now it's Midday Gospel. It's whatever that daily morning entry level class is. So you see the tribe, you get dialogue, and you see everybody growing and changing, and you hear about all the activities and everything. Then it's origins. You got to get the origins process. If you're trying to learn pickup, or if you're trying to like get all the results you can just from the morning class, you're missing the daily structure, the daily disciplines and whatever that, you know, will help mold you. You become a result of your habits. You change your habits and you get it on a set sequence. And you just set the dial. It's like that old infomercial. You set it and forget it. You just get on the process and you do it and you'll change. And you make yourself into a changeable man. You become changeable. It's not that you do the process for like a month or 2 months and you're changed. You are changed, but you become malleable. You can change further and you keep changing. It allows you, it gives you space inside. It makes your nervous system plastic and your brain plastic, your personality plastic so it can mold. Then you learn the advanced tech, whatever that is. Right now, it's Animus Chosen. That's what Mr. Lopez was talking about. You know, during Animus, he had that realization. And then through Chosen, he's the only person that graduated Chosen. And it was through that dropping the ego and then the freedom that came out of that, handling his relationships, confident, clean. It was obvious. And so that's the current advanced teachings. And then the hyper advanced teachings is messengers. And so only a handful of people are going to be doing messengers and they'll become ministers of IMC Nation. That's the July training. And that's the order of operations here. I mean, it just keeps going up and up. And get close, get as close as you can while it's here, while he's around. All right. I'll give any last words to Chris. You got anything? You want to pitch anything?
Me? I got nothing to pitch other than
When are your IMC TV shows?
yeah, every Friday at 2:00 we do the IMC Business Report, myself, Kingpin, and Powerhouse. And yeah, 2:00 we do that, and it's always a good time with those brothers. So yeah, definitely plug into that. And then, you know, just a message to everybody here, you know, like I know, you know, there's so many people that want change and want growth and want something different in their life, but the problem is that you're really afraid of losing the current life you have. Like you're afraid of losing friends and relationships and maybe money, whatever you have. But it's like it's 100% real. It's not until you're ready to kill off your old self can your new self start to begin. And you just got to ask yourself this: if you right now really claim that you love your life and you don't want to lose anything, then why is it that you have the desire for something different? Like why is it you desire something better, something different, some change, if you're so clinging on to the old shit? Like that was a question I had to ask myself too. And so I just said it because I know there's a lot of people going to watch this, whether they're in IMC, not in IMC, and they're watching this for a reason, you know. And you know, I'm grateful for IMC, I'm grateful for AZD, I'm grateful for Yogi, and all these brothers here, because they've all pushed me to continue to grow. So I'm just excited for the future, and I appreciate the opportunity to be here.
Oh yeah, very inspiring. And I'm sure we'll do another one of these in the future. It's just, man, I mean, we're still all so young in this movement, and we got a lot of years ahead of us. So this is just for time capsule's sake. It doesn't even matter if it goes out and lots of people watch it and it brings in business or whatever. Like, this was a great talk. Everybody got to see it, and it's only going to get bigger. So appreciate your time, and I'll see everybody on the next show. J Guru Dev. Os.
Os.